P90s or humbuckers in your Les Paul? I'm here to try and help you pick the right one. Picture this scenario. You've walked into a guitar store and you're looking to pick yourself up a nice new Les Paul. You've always seen them obviously with the kind of classic humbucker setup, but then on the wall you see something like this. Now this is a 1956 Gibson Custom Shop Gold Top loaded with P90s. It's not the only Gibson that comes with these kind of pickups, but today I wanted to go a bit spicy and look at this one. But you see this guitar and you see these pickups, you maybe don't know exactly what's going on with them. So as I said, I'm going to try and help you pick the right choice and kind of, as easy terms as possible, go into the big differences between both of the pickups. So I'm going to kind of speed run through both of these kind of pickups, because I think the most important thing is probably going to be the sound differences between the two guitars. So by all means, there'll be a section in this video that is predominantly just going to be the sounds. If you do just want to check those out, do check the timeline below. And also in the description will be links to all of the equipment that we're using in today's video. But to kind of summarize it just between the two, and let me grab this very, very nice 1959 Custom Shop here in Royal T-Burst 2 that is loaded with two Alnico 3 Gibson custom buckers. And this is just a set of custom Gibson P90s that are in this model here. So obviously on the surface they look completely different. You've got your kind of soap bar, which they're known as to certain circles, certainly call them what you want. The P90s on this guitar here, and then your more traditional covered humbuckers here. To kind of, as I said, make it as kind of simple as possible, P90s are a single row of magnets or coils just across. They are kind of very akin to a single coil pickup like you would see on a Strat or something like that, but it does have a very different EQ sort of shape to it, and also the output is a little bit higher as well. Whereas if you're looking at a humbucker, that is basically it's two single coils smashed together to produce a much thicker sound, a much different EQ sort of field, and also to give you a bit of a higher output. So if we are talking about the difference in the output between the two pickups here, what we are measuring is ohmage, which is just the sort of, it's, you know, the measurement that is used to determine the output of each pickup. Again, not a pickup engineer, not an electrical engineer, so I'm not even going to get too much into depth with that. But the way that we can understand it with the P90 and the humbucker, particularly the one that is on here, what we're looking at is these P90s have an output of about 7 ohms or kilo ohms, and then the humbuckers here have an output of about 9 kilo ohms as well, which obviously the humbuckers have got a bit more of an output to them. The P90s just a little bit less, but they are a lot closer than you would imagine. And I'm going to put this guitar down now before I cause myself some damage with having two very heavy Les Pauls on me. What you'd be looking at traditionally with like a single coil as well, just to even give you in a little bit of context, that is going to be lower than the 7 that you're going to get in the P90s, ranging from probably about the kind of 5 up to, you know, the 7 output there as well. So that gives you kind of like a measurement, and, you know, something like, luckily enough I have the Gymroot Telecaster here with active EMGs, which you're probably looking at about double the output of the Royal T-Burst Les Paul that I was just had in my lap there as well. But let's have a look at the P90s here. Let's start with the lower output of the two. Traditionally what you're going to find, certainly if you look at much older Les Pauls, this is what they were using on them. What people have described the sort of output as this is very warm, it's quite bitey, it's quite sort of spiky when you want it to be as well. But let's just make sure that we're in tune. And I'll even just let you hear this through a couple of different sounds through the quad cortex and the amp that we've got. So just on a clean, I'll cycle through the pickup options as well, just so you can hear exactly what you're getting with it. So certainly on a clean signal, just with a little bit of reverb there, there's nothing unpleasant about that whatsoever. It's still got that kind of like trebly sort of cuttiness that you would expect with a single coil, which is really cool, especially when you're on that bridge. Kind of almost getting kind of sort of telly qualities if you really kind of stick a bit of compressor on that, and you can even actually boost everything up a little. You're kind of getting into that territory there as well. And then obviously on the neck, which I think might be one of my favourite neck sounds, certainly, is a P90 up there as well, because actually if you roll just your tone off just ever so slightly on that as well, which you've got quite a lot of scope there, because you can get that like proper kind of warm jazzy sound if you really wanted to, which I think is just like loads and loads of flexibility there to be able to, just with your tone knob, reduce that down if you wanted to get that darker sort of tone. And especially if you're keeping it kind of, say if you keep it kind of halfway on that sort of 5 position, maybe kind of closer to 6 there. It means you've got room to go up if you do want it to kind of like stick out just that little bit more, Which, yeah, just super, super flexible. But if we're taking inspiration from good buddy of the shop, Jared James Nichols, who has he's got a couple of artist toolkits with us where he gives you some free lessons. One of them, he actually goes into his sort of love of the dynamics of a P90. You can click above my head if you do want to check that out, and certainly see somebody who's a lot more used to a Les Paul than me. But say let's kick on a little bit of overdrive with this guy. Just got a Tube Screamer kind of set up here, just a little bit of a hair after the gain, so you hear how that is kind of sounding. Absolutely perfect for that kind of edge breakup, loads and loads of rooms for dynamics with that as well, because even just if we are to play just that little bit softer with it, especially with an overdrive on, or actually even rolling the volume down, I'll show you how it is full volume with some dynamics first. So full pelt, obviously. And then you can just kind of soften your touch a little bit with that as well. And obviously, lowering your volume down is just going to give you just all that kind of scope to be able to control sort of your own overdrive a little bit, because it will clean up just like really, really nicely. Loads of scope in there for all the dynamics you really need. But then obviously, if we're talking full-blooded Les Paul, we're probably going to want to throw an absolute ton of drive at this, and whether this be like a big distorted amp that you're playing through or a distortion pedal or anything, I think that's kind of where most of you know, the fun will come in with a Les Paul. So let's do that right now and see the P90's handle. So for something that's meant to be a single coil, I think you'll agree that that just absolutely, you know, it's nothing like a kind of Fender bridge single coil, whereas you can find that they can kind of sound a little bit thinner by design. Obviously, the P90 just has a little bit kind of more oomph and sort of grit to it. But much like a single coil, you're going to have to deal with this. Which could be good, it could be annoying as well, especially if you're going to be throwing a bunch of distortion at it. Just bear in mind that this thing does react like a single coil, and you will get a little bit of hum with it. So I'm just going to run through a very, very quick, basically the same list of sounds with the Les Paul here. Certainly if you do want to kind of hear a little bit more, especially about Gibson custom shops and whatnot, we have done a lot of reviews specifically on kind of 59s and stuff like that. So if you do want to see obviously how these pickups handle with a multitude of tones, then check those out. The links will be above my head and in the description below. But just in terms of comparing them to P90s, I'm going to run this through just a quick clean, then the crunch, and then the distortion as well. And then I'm going to do more of a back-to-back comparison between the two of them. So let's just check how this guy sounds. So I could sit and play on that all day, to be fair, because I think that we all understand what a Les Paul sounds like, especially if you are a fan of rock music or anything like that. That's just that full kind of bodied, full punch in the face, especially when you stick it on the distortion. Now, that's where obviously a humbucker is going to kind of shine a little bit more, because I can stick on the gain, and certainly it's going to kind of do that feedback stuff as well, but it's just going to handle it just a little bit better, especially, you know, stick a noise gate on or anything like that if you are kind of playing at much, much higher gains, and especially because we're sitting in quite a small room just now, so I'm pretty close to the amplifier. But you're not going to get that really harsh sort of 60 cycle hum through there as well, so that's obviously something to keep in mind. But on the other side of things, I would definitely say that I prefer the P90s, for me anyway, on a clean signal. I just think that certainly, you know, even if you're playing kind of like bridge humbucker on a clean tone, doesn't sound bad. And especially with these that are a bit more kind of vintage inspired humbuckers, they don't have the highest output of anything, but if you do have a particularly high output guitar, especially with a Les Paul or something like that as well, it can get a little bit muddy and a little bit kind of not as, you know, if you are into your kind of Fender cleans or those sparkly cleans as well, it's not going to be close to that. It's going to be a little bit darker. But that's as much as I kind of wanted to go over just in the initial comparison, because as I said, I don't really want to get too deep into this. So why don't we move on to the sounds and actually just let our ears do the deciding. So hopefully those sound demos there gave you a bit more of an idea of what camp you're going to be, you know, partaking in, whether it be the humbucker or the P90 side of things. I don't think either is going to be a bad choice for you. By all means, I would just say that one is a little bit more specific than the other. For example, if you're going to be playing kind of much higher gains, probably a humbucker is the way to go, but as mentioned, good buddy of the shop, Jared James Nichols, you know, I mean, he's playing like some of the most high-octane blues rock on P90s right now as well. So, you know, take after him and do that if you do want that little bit more of a vibe. But I think if you are in specifically a guitar and you're looking at either one of these kind of guitars, it doesn't need to be a custom shop variation as well. I just, you know, I just so happened to have these two at hand today and really just wanted to kind of check them out. But you know, whether that be an Epiphone, whether that be one of the Gibson USA collections, anything like that, I think you'll get on really well with whichever choice you make, as I said. But give them both a try, because you might surprise yourself that one just kind of weighs the other one out for specifically what you need it for. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you team P90 or are you team humbucker? Would really, really like to know. And while you're down there, give us a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. Would really appreciate it. But until then, I've been Kieran, and this has been just a very quick look at P90s versus humbuckers. Have a great day.